Hey everyone, I'm Ananda, the Galactic Mystic, and this is Navigational Astrology. We are navigating the leading edge of consciousness here with our full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. It's been intense. We've got a lot to talk about. Welcome, everyone. How are you doing? I don't know about you, but it's been a wild ride. So to my subscriber family, so happy to have you join me. I've been loving the dialogue lately. You guys are so brilliant. And I'm so impressed with how consciously you are navigating all of these transits in just this crazy world we live in. You are my mystical baddies. If you're new, welcome. Consider subscribing down in the corner there, and welcome to the family. So even though this is our final eclipse in this eclipse season, we are only halfway through. The cycle actually goes until our next new moon, which will be on May 30th, 9 degrees of Gemini. That will be conjunct the fixed star and starseed marker Aldebaran. That's going to be pretty special. But that's actually when this eclipse season will close out. That will take us through the whole cycle. And then if we look ahead, every year we have 2 eclipse seasons. So in October and November, we will have the energy from this Taurus new moon eclipse to the Scorpio full moon eclipse will be running wild and amok until the cycle is closed out at that last Taurus lunar eclipse in December. And that's how the lunar cycles take us through these experiences of the zodiac as a cycle. So this one, we are starting at Taurus. We started with planting those new seeds of the power of self. And now at the Scorpio full moon, it involves other people. Things are being revealed. We are in Scorpio land where it's intense, right? So the next lunar cycle, or the next eclipse season will begin with a Scorpio new moon, where we will take how this goes for us until then. We will plant new seeds of depth, passion, and interconnectedness with other people. And then we will close out that cycle with a whole brand new breakout of self-power. It's reverse. I hope that made sense. Times have been intense. Every eclipse season tends to be kind of like a portal where many souls choose to leave their bodies and exit this realm, animals too. And, I myself have had 2 people leave their bodies since the last new moon. And I think a lot of us are experiencing that. There's a lot of grief going around. And sometimes that grief has a reason, like something like that. And then some of us are just feeling this sort of background grief. And that makes sense, because if you are like me, you are looking at this world thinking, this is just a play. Like, it's so obvious, like the matrixy manipulation right now, that it's so easy to feel outside of it. Are you having that experience too? Let me know in the comments. I mean, it's really super matrixy as this, like the constructs, Pluto is still in Capricorn, retrograding to the second United States Pluto return conjunction. And so it's the structures are still crumbling. And as it's happening, it's just a weird experience. And so congratulations for making it this far. It's a lot of us are facing changes in our relationships, in our lives, and it's intense times for sure. So let's get on with it. Let's talk about this full moon lunar eclipse. I will bring up the chart for you so you can see what I see. Okay. So, okay, this is our full moon eclipse in Scorpio, May 16th, although depending on where you are, I'm on Eastern Standard Time, so this is happening at 12:14 a.m. on the 16th. Depending on where you are, could be on the 16th. So wherever you are. Okay, so here is our full moon. We have our sun moon opposition at 25 degrees of Scorpio and 18 minutes. Now, this is conjunct the south node, which makes this a very sensitive experience. This is a sensitive placement. This always brings up emotions from the past. Now, our Lighthouse tarot guidance card for this full moon, this is sort of the beckoning energy that will beckon us forward, and it will be active until that December final eclipse is the moon. So this tells us that there's still a lot that we don't know. Much is still hidden. There's a timing thing, a divine timing involved here. And we are having to rely on our instincts, this instinctual nature of, I mean, even on the card, we see these creatures crawling out of the primordial waters, and it's instinct and the pull of that moon pulling them out of those primordial waters. It isn't something that they were like, oh, I'm going to go walk out of these waters now. It was instinct that pulled them. And so we're having to rely on our instinctual nature much more than usual. And this is pretty interesting because we have this really tight square with Saturn involved here. So Saturn in a square is always, this is showing up as a restriction, a blockage. This is Saturn throwing up blockages in front of us. It's a limitation. It's a cold, hard limitation. He's like, you don't have a ticket. You don't have a ticket for admission. You shall not pass. You cannot cross this boundary. And as we are experiencing this boundary, this block, at first, that's how it feels. But once we soften into it, maybe we can figure out that it's because there is something that we have not earned that ticket yet. Saturn guards the gates of everything we have ever wanted. And he pushes us to take responsibility for things that we don't want to take responsibility for. It's not fun. But what's beyond those gates, that's where the fun is. And so he forces us to grow into, it's individual. Take a look at your natal Saturn sign and house placement for more information about how this is tailored for you, because it's going to be different for everyone. What's the same for everyone is that we're all facing Saturnian limits. So this is actually a very, very tight square. So this is going to be loud. It's going to be loud now, and it's going to continue to be loud for a while. Today is also the Buddhist holiday Vesak or Vesak. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I'm not Buddhist, but I think it's interesting to have that day on this full moon eclipse, because from what I understand, this is celebrating the life, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha. And, you know, there's something to be said for just those Buddhist tenets of accepting that life is inherently troublesome. We always have a Saturn thing. There's always something causing us trouble, and it isn't our fault. It's the nature of life. And where we can't control the blockages, what we can control is what we do, how we react to them, how we let it change us, what we do in the face of these things. So what do we do when we face a cold, hard limit? Again, go back to your natal Saturn and look at it and see if there are clues there for you. So looking at our Scorpio rulers, we have Pluto here, who has just gone retrograde in Capricorn. We have Mars here at 23 degrees of Pisces, who is conjunct Neptune at 24 degrees of Pisces. So Pluto here in Capricorn, this is just, you know, he's plowing down the last of those structures in our lives, the things that just, God, I mean, it's just old and tired. And you know what I mean. You know what I mean, what it is for you. It's like, have you ever just gotten so sick of your own self that you're like, okay, enough of that. I'm totally changing. You know, it's that kind of thing. And it doesn't have to be something about yourself that you are finally snapping out of. It can be just anything at all. And now Mars and Neptune in conjunction in Pisces, this is a bit frustrated because Neptune and Mars together kind of frazzle each other out. Neptune is a little bit overtaken, you know, by Mars. And, you know, Mars kind of just can't find the target with Neptune. They just kind of, they're like, hey, what's up? And then they just kind of go, they kind of fizzle. It's like, it's foggy. It's steamy. It can be really like sexy fantasy stuff, but it's hard to clear the fog to see what it really is. Okay. So again, this brings us back to the moon where there's just things we can't see. It's the whole nature of Scorpio and of Pluto as well, you know, and we are consciousness navigators, right? So we're trying to navigate these waters, but, you know, sometimes we just have to drop our anchor and just wait it out, wait for that divine timing or for that divine inspiration to make those moves. Now, here is where we come to like there's some really good stuff in this moon. So actually this trine with the moon is 1 minute in tighter exactitude with our full moon. So this Neptune trine is a beautiful energy. This is making us really thinking about peace, wanting peaceful interactions, wanting everyone to be happy, really giving a crap about people and just things in general, and being more harmoniously minded. This can put us in a mindset where we will sacrifice in order to keep that peace, to keep a pleasant atmosphere, to, you know, put someone else's needs in front of our own, which is a beautiful thing to do as long as we are not toxic about it, you know, like self-sacrificing from a place of lack of self-love and respect. And it's up to us to know the difference. So we have harmonious aspects with the moon and the rulers of Scorpio. We have this sextile with Pluto, and we have a trine with Mars. And this combination, let me tell you, this is like jet fuel, but the smooth kind. Like This isn't like some janky, overpriced, but watered down fuel you're going to put in your like jet ski or whatever, like your motor pack, your whatever. This is like the clean stuff, the stuff where you don't get any jerks. You're moving forward smoothly. So this is power, this is energy, this is drive, and it's smooth. Okay. But what do we do when we have everything running smoothly, but we can't see ahead of us? It's foggy, Mars and Neptune. We're in Scorpio waters anyway. So what is being revealed? Are we being led, smoothly led to the place where the things are being revealed? Or are we being led astray? We have to rely on these instincts that we have. And really the biggest thing to remember here is that Scorpio includes many, many things. One of the things it includes is where we are the most unconscious, like what we are hiding from ourselves even. These are the things that we're totally blind to. And it often there's often like a physiological addiction. Like, you know how we have actual physiological addictions to things like complaining and blaming. Like there's like a neurotransmitter hit that we get addicted to. And Scorpio holds all of these things that underneath its murky waters. And so this is what we're dealing with. This is where we hold our sneaky scapegoating, our sneaky manipulation, and how we lie to ourselves. And, you know, some of us, speaking of the world, some of us are meant to be peace warriors. We're meant to fight back as peace warriors. And then there are others that our role is more to withdraw our energy from what doesn't work in order to build the new. And there's this symbiosis between both ways. And you can think of this, I sometimes describe this as like the indigos and the blue rays. The indigos are the peace warriors, and the blue rays are the ones who withdraw and then build. But we need both. And so you can also think of this as both as existing within yourself, and that there are times when we have to fight as the peace warrior. And then there are some things in life that that aren't worth our time. We just have to withdraw our energy from. Now that's on a world level. On a personal level, we always want to see where we are unconscious. And I mean, I've had my own ass handed to me through this. Like I've handed myself my own ass, you know. There are a lot of ways that we are just kind of on autopilot with unconsciousness, and we are harming ourselves and others. And that's the thing. Like once you realize that you are harming, well, for me, for a long time, I was fine if I was harming myself. But once I realized I was harming others, that was my breaking point. So which is it? You know, where is that place where we're like sick of it? We're sick of, you know, our own stuff. We're sick of staying in the same crappy job. We're sick of the same cycles of relationship. And there's something in there for us, though, that we have to see. And it's beyond that veil. But is the time right? I mean, it's trippy. Mercury has gone retrograde. Jupiter has entered Aries. These are big energetic shifts. If you've been following on the community tab, there's some great posts I made about these two astrological events on there, ways that you can use Mercury retrograde for your benefit, some magical ways you can connect. Jupiter and Aries, this is going to be a hot and spicy year where we are going to really need to rely on ourselves. And it plays in here, doesn't it? Venus and Chiron are conjunct during this full moon eclipse, which that's really an interesting energy, because it can both bring up like the ways that romantic love sort of mirrors our childhood wounds, and it brings those up so we can heal them. And for many of us, that is the Saturn blockage. Family stuff, relationship stuff, our mommy and daddy wounds, our mothering wounds. We carry those in places that are so deep. Only Scorpio waters, that's the only place they can live. And we have to dive deep to find them. And, back to, the teachings of the Buddha, which I'm no expert in. If you are, please educate us in the comments. But it's my understanding that, there's really a lot to be said, that there is a lot said in Buddhism about, not blaming ourselves, because shit happens. When we know better, we do better. That's a beautiful thing to remember. There's no reason to feel shame about the mistakes that we've made. It's not that big of a deal. Anyway, before we close out, let's take a look at the Chandra symbol for this full moon. Okay, so this is the Chandra symbol for Scorpio 25 to 26. A she-wolf, her udders full of milk, bearing within you something vast and wild and true, your instincts given over to this seed. What can be, must be, impels sacrifice and renunciation. Okay, already we've mentioned instincts and sacrifice, and I have not read this until now. Okay, what can be, must be, impels sacrifice and renunciation. Being held in the grip of vast primordial forces. I mentioned primordial waters too. Taken over by depths that forge new worlds into being, stunned into submission, unconsciously obsessed with something that lives within you and cannot be forgotten, supercharged with energy. That's that smooth fuel, in tune with the Earth's cycles, everything happening in a magnified and hypnotic atmosphere. The hidden worlds take charge. Individuality is eclipsed, and the surge of power dominates consciousness and life by its intensity and ruthless current right through the body. And there is nothing to say about it. I just love how these inside degrees, they're always like exactly what is happening when you take the whole picture into account. It's super magical. Thank you so much for watching, for liking and subscribing. I will see you next time.